when you're given a directive and you have a dream and you feel passionately about that, even if you don't have anything that other people say you have to have, and you don't know what you need until you're out there sometimes, you still got to take the
Mhm.
step.
You are now listening to the podcast where authors inspire listeners to become authors, the Going North Podcast. I'm your host, certified self-leadership trainer, best-selling author, and book enthusiast, Dom Brightman. And you're going to be listening to a different author that will inspire you to join the business of immortality, known as authorship. Now let the fun begin. Today's episode is sponsored by book number 2 from Dominic Dom Brightman, Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. It is the field guide to help unleash the elite performer that is inside of you. Cop it today on Amazon.com or heading over to dombrightman.com and snag it in book, ebook, and audiobook, so that way you can take it on the go and get yourself on the go to your northbound success. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as the Going North Podcast, we got another super special, awesome human for you today, courtesy of one of the best websites on planet Earth right now, known as podmatch.com, where podcast guests get to connect with podcast hosts. And if they're cool, they're freaking in. And today's guest is cooler than 2 cucumbers. My friend is right indeed, cooler than 2 cucumbers a day, because we got an overcomer in the building, baby. Because today's best-selling author, y'all, she's a mom, she's a wife, an intuitive business coach, trademark, as well as an attorney, CPA, certified Christian life coach, and ordained minister. So sorry, I try saying that 7 times fast indeed. So let's give it up for the LM to the B, the one and only Lynita Mitchell-Blackwell. How you doing today, Lynita?
I am doing wonderfully well, Don. Thanks so much for having me on your show.
Oh yeah, honored to have you here. That's right, indeed. I'm like, man, like she's an old day minister. It's like, all right, so if I do this podcast today, I don't have to go to church Sunday. This is good. This is good. Let me stop. I'm messing with you.
No, I know. I'm smiling. I'm like, Father, help, Don. Oh,
So my goodness, it's like going to a giant level 99 Golden Corral with all the stuff you got under your belt. So my goodness, the bios and the introductions aren't allowed to be 99 days long, and I probably only covered, I don't know, 9 minutes. Am I filling in any cavities I may have missed about you that make you the Lynita that you are today?
I thought you said cavities, and I was just like, you know what? Maybe I missed that word. So, I actually take every experience as a blessing, even the ones that were really challenging and painful, because I see them as opportunities for me to grow into a better human being, to be of service to every person I meet. So I would not categorize them as cavities. They were learning opportunities.
Ah, so what was the first one?
So the first one would be my undergrad major. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. So my mother picked my major, which was accounting. And my first job was brutal. I was hired at a time during a merger, and it was really painful because everybody was scared for their job. And I couldn't get any experience because nobody wanted to give the new folks, because it wasn't just me. It wasn't like I was being singled out. No one wanted to give the new folks a shot. And it wasn't until, literally 6 months of just sitting there and being scared coming to work every day. And it really wore on my self-confidence. But when I got my next job with the competitor of this firm, it allowed me to be much more empathetic toward my coworkers. I learned to be assertive and to ask for work and to speak up for myself. And so while that was a really hard thing to go through with the merger, with people acting out of their fear, being unhelpful and sometimes very unkind, some of them mean, I took from that the importance of, even when things are not going right in your life, heck, when they're going totally left and they're hard, it's still important for us to show up well and to be kind to others.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. And hey, I guess your mom chose your major and you actually finished it too, so that takes dedication.
Well, thank you. One day at a time. No lie, one day at a time.
So, how's the transition to becoming an attorney? Like, I guess you had to find out your background with all the learning. Did you say to yourself, you know what, this is great, but I'm not a fan of this. Let me become an attorney. Let me do what I really want to do. Like, how was that transition?
It was hard. I decided to go back to law school after working in accounting a couple of years because I just did not like it. I am very outgoing. I love people in the accounting profession. That's not what is happening. You know, your numbers. It's A plus B equals C, and there's not a whole lot of room for creativity there without going to jail. And so I was like, I need something else. But when I got to law school, you know, my mind was still very black and white. And to be a good lawyer, to be the best advocate for your client, you have to learn to think in terms of gray. And the first year and a half really kicked my butt. It was another humbling experience because I was used to being at the top of my class and doing well, and for things to come easily and the things that didn't, there wasn't a hard night of study that could not get it done. And law school was not like that for me. It was changing my mindset, changing the way that I thought about servicing clients. And then it was like a light switch finally, the second semester of my second year, and things turned around. But when I graduated, I was in the middle of the pack. You know, I had a solid B, but the high paying jobs go to those who are at the top. And so I graduated without a job. And it was a friend who made a way for me. Her HOA at the time was managed by the largest property management company in the state of Georgia. And their attorney was leaving. She was getting married and moving away. And he was like, man, we really need to replace this person, but it needs to be someone who has the legal background, but also the accounting. And she said, I have just the person. And that's how I got my start. I worked at that company for almost 2 years. It was a wonderful learning experience. And then I went on to do my own thing. So it was a real blessing.
There you go. Blessing indeed. It was by design. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed.
Yeah,
Mama knew something.
she really did, Dom. And I tell folks all the time, I had someone ask, who is your hero? And I said, it's my mom, because she really exemplifies what it means to look at a person, to see their skills, gifts, and talents, and to look and see the long game, because that's exactly what happened with me. And I'm forever grateful.
So I'm talking about indeed. So, with all this wonderful experience under your belt, what led you to become an author?
I was sitting one day and I realized how helpful it would have been if someone had given me a guide, a cheat sheet, a book, a pamphlet, something on this adulting thing. And I
Yeah.
said, all right. And I said, I want to write a book. Just a highlight, a reel. And it was short. It was 47 pages, called Leading Through Living, a guide for women seeking growth through leadership. And I put it out into the world, and people read it, and it really resonated. But it was interesting, Don, because like I said, I wrote it for the younger person, someone still in college or just getting their start professionally. But people in their 50s and 60s, leaders, were reading the book and like, oh my gosh, yes, this applies to me. Come speak to my group. And at that point, I did not know there was an entire industry for speakers, like where you got paid. Up to that point, people would invite me to speak. I would say something, and I would just feel good that, I was there. And so the first time somebody put money in my hand, I was like, oh, this is cool. I can do this for a living. Yeah, let's do this. And so I was speaking and writing at the same time. And I have not looked back. It's been a wonderful experience.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. Yeah, it's actually interesting when folks discover that about the speaking business. Like, oh yeah, some speaker comes in, and then it's like, oh, they got paid this much. It's like, hey, well, what?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I am not at the Les Brown level, but when it comes to pay, but I am working my way up the ladder, you know?
Heck yeah, indeed. Heck yeah, indeed. That's right, indeed. And the good news is you didn't stop there. You eventually published more books, if not magazines, too, if I'm not mistaken, at one point, and started your own publishing company. So, did you just hear so many stories from women? You're like, you know what? I believe in bold favor. Let's make this a magazine and highlight some people.
So it was a little bit of that and a lot of, I did not like what I was seeing in media about how black and brown people were portrayed. Literally, I was invited as a delegate to the International Women's Conference, which was held in Bangalore, India. And I got a Super Saver flight there and back. But by Super Saver, I mean like I had like 15 stops through 15 countries, kind of a deal.
Yeah.
um, and, and at the time, it was really wearing on me. But I now understand why that had to happen too, because I got to see how black people, brown people were being portrayed all over the world as being these what I called wild hyenas, as if we have no intelligence, that we have no grace, no elegance. And I hated it. And so when I got home from the conference, I sent out a message to friends and family saying, we're gonna put this information out here and do this newsletter and highlight bold people. And we wound up with, I think it was like 95 pages. And at that point, it's not a newsletter, it's a magazine. But I did not have the infrastructure set up for a magazine. And so the first issue, which is still out there, was completed in Microsoft Word. And I share that with people because it's important that when you're given a directive and you have a dream and you feel passionately about that, even if you don't have anything that other people say you have to have, and you don't know what you need until you're out there sometimes, you still got to take the
Mhm.
step. Because people read it, they loved the content. It was ugly, I'm not going to lie, because, it was done in Word, and that's not what Word was for back then. And so our first graphic designer, Jodeci Richardson, she was a student at FSU, Florida State University, and she did the second issue cover to cover for free. And just beautiful. And it took us to a whole nother level. And we got to the place where we were covering amazing events like the Soul Train Music Awards, and we were helping unknown artists get out there and get their names heard and hosting events. And it was a beautiful and wonderful experience culminating in the Bowl Awards, where we were recognizing people literally all over the world who were inspiring people to take bold action, people, causes, and organizations. And I really loved that. It was a lot of fun. It really was.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. I'm talking about, indeed. And sure, any thoughts on bringing it back, or or is it
No,
still out
I'm
there?
not.
That
I'm not gonna lie to you. I think about it every day, but I have not heard from God that that is what I'm supposed to do, and it might not be ever. But it's definitely not right now. But I think about it every day. I really do.
I get you. I get you. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. So my goodness, so you got this new fabulous book out there. That's right, indeed, and I'm glad it's also on audio. Live Life on Fire. That's right, and it's even in an acronym, if I'm not mistaken.
So yes, live life on fire, the ultimate guide to a successful life full of peace, joy, and fulfillment. And it is the cheat sheet on how to answer the question, what am I living for? Because, Dom, we were all given the same checklist by the same parents and teachers and community members who love and care about us. And that is, you work hard, you make money, you get promoted and recognition, you become successful, and you will live happily ever after the end. But I know from my experience and most of the people I've talked to, that is just not the truth. That you achieve those accolades and you achieve the stuff, the cars, the clothes, the money, etc. But that happiness is fleeting. And you continue to race and to hustle and to grind for the next thing, and you're happy for a moment, and then that goes away too. So this happiness thing, that's not exactly what we are trying to achieve. What we're going for is actually joy. And that is something that is internally determined. And that is something that is based on gratitude and thanksgiving. And so I take the reader through how to achieve that through breathing and meditation, being in awe of your life, going with the flow, how things go, and learning how to be present, fully present. And so that it's not too woo-woo. I do use examples from the business perspective as well as personal to bring it all together.
Ah, there you go, indeed. There you go, indeed. And yeah, yes, indeed. Breathe is definitely important because a lot of folks, I guess that's probably the reason why meditation is so popular nowadays, is because folks think they're breathing, but it's like, oh, no, they're not really breathing. They're not breathing intentionally.
Yeah, so to your point about breathing with intention, most of us don't, and it's not an indictment. I mean, we're just trying to breathe to live, and I am saying you want to breathe with intentionality so that you can enjoy the life you're living. And so that means taking time for yourself between appointments, between family obligations, between you ripping and running for yourself, really taking time to look around and smell the roses, to appreciate what you have, what you've accomplished, to dream bigger dreams of things that you want to do and people that you want to positively impact.
But my goodness, my goodness. So the good news is that it's like, hey, helping folks to really breathe intentionally. Indeed, that's right. Indeed, it's always good to breathe to live. That's the requirement because it's like, hey, if you don't breathe to live, it's like, well, you did, but like, hey, breathing with intention. It's like, all right, next level. That's right. Indeed, get the good moral life out of magical life. So speaking of getting moral life out of life, since you're a coach, what would you consider one of your biggest lessons learned from one of your clients that made you a better coach?
Ooh, I think the biggest lesson that I've learned from one of my clients was when to say when. Whenever I work with a person, I ask them to commit to at least a year, not just so that they get what we're going for, but so that they have a good rhythm and will continue to achieve after we are done working together. But that requires them to do the work. And for the longest time, I would get frustrated with clients where we would meet twice a month. And so there would be at least 2 weeks between the last time that we met, and they had not done a thing. And we would be on. I mean, so and my coach would say to me, "But why does that bother you? They're paying." And I'm like, "That's exactly why." Because to me, if you're paying for something, you're paying for me to move you forward. But if you're not doing your work, and we keep coming to the sessions and we're in the same spot, then your money is not an investment at that point. And I learned the value of having that conversation with my clients and to be willing to say, listen, I know you signed on for a year, but you're not in a place where you can be committed. So once you get there, let me know and we can come back. Now, we can still be friends. We can do a catch up call from now, but the consistent coaching requires you to be committed. And it took me a while to say those few words to my client in a way that was loving and compassionate. That was a huge lesson for me.
Uh, that shows you got your head in the right place too, because I've heard that from some other coaches too, where it's like if the client ain't really doing anything, it's like, well, why waste time for both you and them? So it's like, all right, well, let's pause this for now and cancel this for now, and you can come back later if you so choose. Because the thing is, you don't want them to finish the whole contract for a year or 6 months or whatever, and then they leave a bad review, and then they'd be like, "This coach didn't do nothing for me. They
It's like
did
you
nothing."
didn't. That's right, Dom. And it wasn't that I didn't do anything for you. It's you wouldn't do for yourself. And I understand that there are myriad reasons for that: family, work, stress, changes in the structure of how you bring in your money. I get all those things. But at the end of the day, I just want you to get what you paid for.
Heck yeah. That's right indeed. That shows she stands on business, y'all. That's right indeed. She is about her business. That's right indeed. She is about her business, y'all. That's right indeed. About doing good business too, because that's good business because it makes sense. It's all about protecting everybody involved. So my goodness, since you've been on a boatload of interviews, is there a question that you wish folks would ask you more often?
How can we work together? And that can be in law, that can be in coaching, just how can we collab? I love being asked that question because while we can't always work together or collaborate in this moment, there might be something a year, 2 year, 5 years down the line where we can. And while we're building our relationship, that first starts off collegial and then builds into a friendship, you'll be first in my mind when opportunities come up that match up with what you're looking to do with your life and your skills, gifts, and talents. And I'm hopeful that as things come up in front of you that would fit me, that you would also put my name forward. So that is the number one thing I wish people would ask more. How can we work together?
There you go. That's right indeed. She's looking for the jellies for peanut butter and business, y'all. That's right indeed. That's right indeed.
Oh, goodness.
Well, speaking of food, if your fabulous book, Live Life on Fire, if that book were a food, what would it be and why?
Oh, now that's a cool question. You know what? It would be a plate of curry vegetables from a awesome Jamaican restaurant with plantains, cabbage, and pigeon peas and rice. And just thinking about that makes me hungry.
Oh, good. No mission accomplished.
You're a wicked man,
That's right,
Mm.
indeed. It's one of the side effects of this podcast.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh, man. So, since you've been in business for a good long while, what would you consider your biggest setback that actually was a setup for your success?
Ooh, you know what? It was actually my health. I'm gonna tell you. I had stage 4 endometriosis, which is the uncontrolled growth of uterine cells outside of the uterus. And for most people, it does not affect them. They go on to live wonderful lives. But your friend Lynita Dom is not most people. And so it attached to everything. And I had to have a series of really bad surgeries. And I had to take some awful medication. One of them was actually a cancer drug. And it had me laid up for several months over the past few years, recuperating from these surgeries. But each time I came back from a surgery, I came back as a better person, as a better wife, a better mom, a better coach to my clients, a better attorney, a more powerful advocate. And although it took something out of me every time, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, I became stronger and more fulfilled. And those qualities and characteristics you can see in my business because each time I went down, I was afraid that, it would all fall apart because My clients will find someone else. Oh my goodness. Or people will forget about me because I'm not in their faces. But God doesn't work that way. Spirit does not work that way. If a set of people go away, then he brings back more and better. And that's what happened. And for most of the people that I work with, they waited for me because they were like, you're the best. I actually once had a lady call me. She said she found my name on Google. She put in a search string for estate attorneys, and I came up. And she said, you came up ranked number one. I was shocked because I don't pay for Google ads. I don't pay for Google placement. And for that to come up like that, I knew that was the favor of the Lord. That was not something that I could have planned and I didn't pay for. And that only happened after what I would have perceived as something horrible, these surgeries. But it came after my shift in my mindset, my well-being.
So I'm talking about indeed. Good old favor, y'all. That's right, indeed. Because, yeah, that's the beautiful thing about it, too, when Google works like that for you. And you didn't even have to do any Google ads. It's like, all right, marketing's working. And it can be a long game, too. It's like, yeah, that's right, indeed. He's putting all them seeds out there. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Planting them seeds out there, indeed. Actually, one question probably feel like I should have asked 2 questions ago. Since you're a fellow believer, how'd you come to know the Lord, Lynita?
I was in the fourth grade and fractions were kicking my tail, Don. Literally, I'm telling the truth. This is my story. This is the first time I remember God showing up for me. You know what I mean? I was in the fourth grade. Fractions were kicking my tail. My parents had done everything that they knew to do to help me, but the concept just would not click. And it was the only thing that had ever stumped me. And so one day I got tired of getting F's on my test, and I sat down on my bed. I think I was about 9 years old, and I determined that I was not going to move from that bed in front of that page in my math book until I understood. And I did not realize it at the time, but 2 hours passed, and I suspect that I had a transformational experience, but I didn't know to put that in words because I was young. But after those 2 hours, it just came to me. Like I could do those fractions. I understood them. The next test came. I blew it out of the water. But I was aware enough of the concept of God because I'm a fifth generation PK. And so God, church, love of the Lord was in our house. So I knew it was him, but I didn't know that that's how he showed up. But I know that now. So that is my first encounter with God.
There you go. That's right, indeed. And then eventually added ordained minister to the ever growing scroll of resume action.
Yes, yes, yes. I actually just completed my doctoral degree in spiritual studies. It was conferred the second week of October.
Wait a second, you're a doctor?
I am, Don. I am. Don't tell people. They might expect me to operate.
Oh. Well, I'm about to say, wait a second. Let me get this right now. I got to add the doctor to the top now. I got to add it in front. To Lynita. Now,
And
Dr. Lynita. All right. Now, all right. Well, I'm glad I asked. I would have never gotten this. Like, wait a second.
man, just Lynita is just fine. See, I like the flow of our conversation. Let's keep it.
Yep, you're actually the second now person to do both because it's like, oh yeah, the class of things. Like, yep, what do you want to be to grow up? And parents be like, you better tell them doctor or lawyer. It's like, well, she's both, y'all. That's right, indeed. Second person to do it, and a lady too. First person to do it who appeared on the show, Marina Bruni, out in, I believe she's in Italy, actually. Got her lawyer degree, then got her PhD. I forgot what the PhD was in. That was 3 years ago, the interview was. But yeah, yeah, she got a PhD, and she's a business lawyer, so she Esquire. Yes, indeed. That's right, indeed. Esquire with no sire. Let me stop.
Damn, you are a trip. Oh man.
Oh man. Well, I want to come down to the magical question every guest gets to receive. And that is if you know, wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but you're still in the current year. What advice would you give to yourself?
Oh, oh my goodness gracious. The thing that I would tell my young self on a serious note is to stop being so serious. I had convinced myself when I was in my teens that everything had to be accomplished by 30 or I had failed. And so I spent most of my 20s working so hard. I mean, grinding. And life is not a grind. Life is a blessing. It is a joy. And I would tell myself to take more time to enjoy it. Really be engaged with people when you're talking to them. Don't always be ready with a response. Actually, give yourself time to listen to what they have to say and digest it before you respond. To actually say yes, go out more, have more fun. There is time. And so, what if you accomplish things in your 40s instead of your 20s? This whole life is for you. Enjoy it.
That's what I'm talking about. Indeed, enjoy it, yo. That's right, indeed. Even if it's with an I in, enjoy it. It's got to be in.
Yes,
Enjoy.
yes, yes.
That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Some would say in love and light, in this case, enjoy.
That's right.
That's right, indeed. Well, for those folks like me who enjoyed the magical conversation and definitely want to keep up with all the stuff that you're doing, since we only dived into maybe 2% of the total 100% of what Lynita does, what's the best way for folks to check out the other 98% and cop some copies of your magical books?
Absolutely. You can catch me online at my website, LynitaMitchell-Blackwell.com. Lynita spelled Lynita. And we can connect there on social media. You can join my email list and grab copies of my book, which are also available on Audible. And let's connect.
Sweet. Well, there you have it, folks. Reach out to the lovely Lynita on all of her social medias. Keep up with all the stuff that she's doing. And the good news is she also reads her own books too. So you're going to be in for a treat that's good enough to eat once again. That's right, indeed. You get to get in your ears for even more amounts of time, y'all. That's right, indeed. You'll love to see it. In this case, you'll love to hear it. So do just that. We'll put a link to all those wonderful things in the show notes indeed. So, any parting word before we close up shop, Dr. Lynita?
Focus on living an excellent life instead of a perfect one. Perfect is living up to someone else's standards. And I know at this point in our lives that that is not acceptable, nor is that the desired outcome. So instead, create your own standards and build in grace into them. And that is the excellent life that you seek. Enjoy it.
If you're hearing this part of the episode, that means you're one cool individual. Thanks a bunch for tuning in, and if you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to share it with at least one other person in your network. Bonus points for 3. And be sure to check out the backlog too while you're at it, because there are hundreds of wonderful episodes to choose from as well.